And at that point, were you the second investigator in the case?
Yes, sir.
What were your responsibilities at first, at least?
To conduct a competent investigation relative to the case against Mr. Bashara.
And with regard to that, what were your specific duties?
Review of discovery material and all material that had been presented to the defense and investigative team of Mrs. Diallo and Mr. McCarthy relative to the matter.
And were your duties split among a couple of other investigators?
Yes.
And why was that?
Because of the volume of discovery material.
And when we talk about the volume of discovery material, how many witnesses were involved in this case?
According to what I read in the discovery material, approximately 300.
Okay. And how many witnesses were you assigned to?
When it was narrowed down to the relevant witnesses that would be testifying, approximately 30.
Okay, but initially there were 300 witnesses, correct?
Correct.
And now with regard to the 30 that you were assigned to, how did you go about contacting these people?
Well, I thought that we would be able to get information on their residency or locate information from the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. That didn't happen, and it caused us to have to use software in order to try to properly locate and identify these individuals.
In what ways were your efforts hindered?
I was expecting the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office to provide accommodations as far as the witnesses were concerned, based upon the fact that they expressed hesitancy or reluctancy in being contacted by the defense investigators.
So,
no, wait a minute, back up for a minute. Explain what you just said. What led you to that conclusion?
Because in the past, as I've worked for cases, assigned cases, the prosecutor's office has made witnesses available so that they would be interviewed within an environment that they wouldn't feel intimidated.
Okay. They didn't do that in this case?
No, ma'am.
And were you provided with any contact information with regard to these 300 witnesses?
No.
So how did you go about trying to locate these people?
We used locate software, skip trace type software.
Was that effective?
I'm not in a position to speak to it specifically. Maybe 40 or 50% effectiveness.
Okay. In other case, would you have preferred to have the addresses, I'm assuming?
That would have been a preference, yes.
And also with regard to the narrowed scope of the investigation, would you have preferred to at least contact all the 300 witnesses?
That would have been a preference, but at the same time, it was important to follow the direction of the two attorneys, the first lead attorney, Mrs. Diallo and Mr. McCarthy. So there was a combination of the need to engage in a competent investigation, follow the directions that Mrs. Diallo had established in a way of reviewing discovery material, and then providing some type of analysis of the material in order to boost the defense strategy.
Okay. Now, when you were initially appointed as an investigator, what was your understanding of the compensation?
It was specifically identified within the request for extraordinary fee, that order that was granted by Judge Colombo.
And what was that specific amount?
$75 an hour.
Now, another investigator on this case was Joseph Bruce.
That's correct.
And you had some discussions with Mr. Bruce, is that correct?
Yes.
Was there ever a time that you became a little concerned about being compensated for your services?
Yes, there was.
And how did that come about?
Joe related to me the contact that he had with the administration of Judge Timothy Kinney, who is the chief judge of the criminal division, relative to submission of his invoices. And there were responses. There was slow response in being able to recognize and honor or process his request for payment. He related to me that after about 3 weeks of going through the request period, which was right in the middle of the either trial preparation of the trial itself, that he related to me that he had a meeting with Judge Kinney concerning his invoices.
And do you recall when that conversation took place?
Somewhere around September or October time period.
So right just prior to trial starting?
Yes, sir.
Did that have an impact on you?
Yes, it did have an impact on the commitment that we had made to provide expert services relative to the task at hand, but it certainly narrowed the scope or placed limitations on the type of investigation that we thought was necessary and reasonable in supporting the defense strategy.
How did it place limitations?
When there became a question asked, according to Joe, and I had to take his word for it, that Judge Kinney was questioning why it was necessary to read discovery material, which I considered to be a very essential part of the investigation. And when you compare that with the fact that that was one of the points of emphasis that was instructed upon me by Attorney Diallo, as I interpreted it being an important part of her defense strategy, I saw there being a conflict. And I just didn't understand, and I was truly puzzled why that type of question would be asked and why so much emphasis would be made on the use of a skip trace piece of software in light of the fact that we weren't being given information that would allow us to conduct a competent investigation.
So the skip trace, is that a program?
The skip trace is more or less a term. The use of software, and there are various types of software that can be used, is the manner in which you conduct skip trace investigations.
Okay, so what is skip trace?
It's a term that's used among investigators to locate.
So what's it mean? I don't know.
Well,
You can't explain it?
ma'am, I thought I was explaining it. It's a term, skip trace, that is just a locate. A skip trace is a locate and identify.
Okay, so that it means locate and identify.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that was necessary in this case because you didn't have name, or didn't have addresses and phone numbers, correct?
That's correct.
Right. Now, you had submitted a voucher for payment, correct?
Our company has submitted approximately 4 invoices per instructions for payment.
All right. Now, when were these provided?
After the trial.
Okay.
First one being in late February.
Okay. What happened with those invoices? Have you gotten paid on them?
No.
What's your understanding as to why?
Well, at this point, the invoices that we've submitted have basically been ignored.
Did you submit a letter to Judge Kenny's administrative assistant?
Most recently, yes.
All right. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Do you have a copy? Counselor Law?
Yes, we do, we have a copy.
Very good. You make a start.
Although, Your Honor, I'm just gonna, at this point, object to relevance, because what difference does it
Yeah, I
make what he did after the work was done on the case in order to get payment? He didn't say he didn't do the work, he did the work, so his...
I agree. We know you didn't get paid, did you?
Not at all. In fact, my invoice has been ignored.
Okay, very good. But let me ask this question. When the prosecution gave you the defense, the prosecution's witness list, were those witnesses interviewed?
I received the witness list from Attorney Diallo,
Okay.
and the list was voluminous. It
wasn't 300 people.
No, ma'am.
Okay, how many people were it? Approximately.
80 to 90.
Okay. And were all those people interviewed?
No, ma'am.
How many?
I can't give you a specific number because we never got together and tallied that number up. So
Well, how many did you interview?
I recall interviewing approximately 5 to 8, maybe 10 people.
And who were those people?
I don't have that list.
Well, when you go over lunch, can you get it? Because if you interviewed it, you'd have the copy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so after lunch you can provide that, you think?
I'll try, ma'am.
Okay, what would prevent you from doing that? I'm just curious.
I would have to access my computer, my list, and we placed a lot of our material, our company did, within a software program. And after the trial and after we ran into difficulties as far as the invoice was concerned, we stopped subscribing to that software.
So you don't know the names of the people you interviewed?
I had a list that was provided to me. I don't think I have that list. If I could go down the list, I probably would remember.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that would be helpful. What we're going to have to do is, did you know that you were going to have to come and testify today?
Yes.
You didn't think it would have been helpful to review that list prior to testifying, to know who you interviewed? You didn't get paid for it?
In hindsight, yes, ma'am.
Oh. But you provided that letter that you sent to Ms. Lido about not getting that money.
Yes, ma'am.
But you forgot about the witnesses that you did interview.
Well, if that's, yes, ma'am, I guess that's.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
Do you recall, so you mentioned that you were assigned, what, 30 people approximately?
Approximately, yes.
And so, and you're saying that you were only able to contact how many?
From my recollection, 5 to 8 people.
Okay.
Well, let me ask this. You don't know the names of them. You know when you contacted them? Was it in the middle of the trial, before, during, or after trial?
I can remember some of the names. Missy Keller, Lois Valente, Mr. Fasinelli.
Okay.
I can't remember the rest of the names.
Okay, very good. Okay, go ahead.
May I still approach the witness? Maybe it'll refresh his recollection.
About what? About him not getting paid?
No, about him, the people that he...
Okay, very good.
Interview.
Okay, it might be in that document. You had a document, Madam Prosecutor?
Yes, ma'am.
For the record, can you indicate what page that is?
It is... It's time sheets, time entries.
That's
Is that document from your company?
Yes, it is.
And does that reflect the time that you expended on the case?
Yes, it does.
And does it also indicate some of the people that you may have contacted?
Yes, it does.
All right. And if you can have a few seconds to review that.
Of course.
I can. You want me to
You can
identify?
read from the document.
Go right ahead. Who else did you interview?
Wesley Johnson,
Anybody else?
Dean Graham,
And anybody else?
again,
I can direct, can you go to your date of 9/1, excuse me, of 9/19/14?
yes.
Is that on that? Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Is that, do you have it?
Missy Keller,
Okay, go to the date of 9/20/14.
Drew McSkimmons,
Go to the date of 10/8/14.
Lois Valente,
Go to the date of 10/28/14.
Do you see that?
Mr. Fasinelli,
And again on 11/17/14.
again, Mr. Fasinelli,
Counsel?
And is that it?
there were other attempts that I made where it was either a denial of the request to interview, or I got a return phone call where the persons did not want me contacting their residents or them personally.
And how many would you say you got of those?
At least two, I'm thinking three. It was my responsibility to contact Miss Laura Mara, the lady that reported that she had walked by Mr. Bashara at approximately 7 o'clock that evening. I went and knocked on her door, tried to contact her, and her husband, I think, returned the phone call and basically indicated that they didn't want to be contacted regarding this matter.
Okay.
There was a real estate agent that I made repeated attempts to contact, and I think I got a referral to her attorney at that point, and she told me not to contact her anymore.
Okay.
So, based on what you did do, there were a number of people who just did not want to be interviewed. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And in addition to the people that you did interview, you also spoke to Mr. Bashara on a number of occasions, correct?
Yes, I did.
And he has a pretty much a vast amount of information.
Yes.
With regard to, do you recall each of these specific witnesses? Like, let's say Missy Keller. Do you recall her?
Yes, I do.
And how is Missy Keller important to the investigation?
Objection, he said he interviewed her. What difference does it make? He said he interviewed her.
With regard to the attorneys, did you read them as to the people that you weren't able to interview?
Yes.
And what was their response to that?
We'll just continue moving forward, getting prepared for the trial.
Did they ever suggest that maybe that something could be arranged with the prosecutor's office?
Objection, Your Honor.
Counsel, that's not relevant. Let's move on.
Furthermore, Your Honor, you can't force anybody to
We
talk
know.
to you.
Okay, very good. Go ahead.
In the past, you have done that, though, correct?
I don't understand the question.
Ask the question.
With regard to Mr. Bashara, the investigation for Mr. Bashara, was that, in your opinion, was that a complete investigation?
No.
Where was it lacking?
I thought it lacked due process.
Okay.
Objection, Your Honor.
Well, that was his opinion.
No, but he has to have that's
Okay,
a legal conclusion which he cannot make. So I asked for that to be stricken because he can't make that legal conclusion. That is something legal judges and lawyers make based on case law and going to law school.
Well, he was a special agent.
Special agent, that might be, but that's not a lawyer.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would say that it goes to the weight. And,
Not admissibility. Well, but I'll do this. I'll accept it for that. What leads you to the conclusion that that he was denied due process?
Based upon the resources of the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office,
Well, what that got to do with you?
because the preparation of the material that was compiled that led up to his indictment was...
Yeah, just wait till
Okay.
he finish what he gonna say.
Okay.
Go ahead. It's not your turn, Ms. Lindsay.
I know, I'm just standing up and getting ready for my objection.
Okay.
It was voluminous in nature, and it was a result of a multi-jurisdictional, comprehensive investigation by a number of agencies that are professionals. There was collection of evidence. It was in volume, as I'm being redundant, and it was a result of a 15-month effort. Our defense team was given approximately 8 or 9 weeks to accept that information, be able to review it, and then be able to assist, as the investigators, to assist in the defense strategy.
Let me interrupt you for a minute. Now, you indicated before that you were in your past occupation a special agent.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is that uncommon to have a 15-month investigation federally?
Oh, no, ma'am, not at all.
It's more likely that the average range is at least 3 to 5 years. Would that be fair?
Correct, but
Excuse
understand...
me, I'm not done, okay? So, the point, stop talking when I'm talking. So, this was something that you were used to doing, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it uncommon to listen to wiretaps and review information? That's not uncommon, is it, in your training?
No, ma'am, it is.
Okay. And when you were requested to provide this assistance, and you ultimately saw what was entailed, did you say, this is just too much for me, I can't handle it? You took it on, is that correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
And what you're concerned about ultimately is the fact that you were not paid for what you did, is that correct?
No, not completely, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, but you had the option of saying, this is just too much, I can't do it, because I can't do it effectively. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, I had that option.
But you didn't exercise that option, did you?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
were you in a position to request further assistance? You were getting directions from the attorneys, right?
Correct.
And you followed their direction. Is that accurate?
Yes,
And you did that to the best of your ability.
that's correct.
And with the amount of information that you had to digest over this period of time, were you able to fully investigate this case?
You asked me my
Yeah.
opinion?
Yes.
No, I don't think I was able to fully investigate it.
All right. I have no further questions.
Cross-examination.
Yes, ma'am. Now, you want to interview the witnesses prior to them testifying to see what they might say under oath. Is that correct?
Based on the instructions from the attorneys, yes.
So that is it correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that is so the attorney can sort of have a road map or a game plan about how they're going to attack what the person may say. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Ultimately, it's for the attorney to use that information to their benefit, correct?
Correct.
Now, you indicate that there were approximately 300 witnesses. In terms of approximately 300 witnesses, they were divided between civilians and police witnesses. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So the number of witnesses, civilians, was substantially less than 300. Is that correct?
That's correct.
It essentially, roughly about maybe 90, correct?
Correct.
90 what, civilians?
Civilian witnesses, correct?
Correct.
And of those 90 civilian witnesses, we're talking about the total of people that were interviewed. Is that correct? Civilians that were interviewed, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And some of those civilians really didn't have much to contribute. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So when you're talking about the vast number, there was some, you're aware of a canvass? You know when police go out and do a canvass?
Yes.
Some of those witness statements were the police knocking on Mr. Bashara's tenant's door and saying, do you know anything about this case? And them saying, no, I don't, correct?
That's correct.
So just because you're throwing out a number out there, that the number was overwhelming, you can still boil the case down to essential witnesses who have information to offer, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about this whole skip trace situation. As a company, as a private investigative company, I would assume that you have some type of software that you routinely use that in order for you to do your job. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Some of them are LexisNexis. Is that correct?
Yes.
TLO. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that is a service that your company signs up for, correct?
We could, yes.
Okay. And as it relates to these services are not really that expensive, are they?
No.
Okay. As far as skip trace services, if I go online right now and put in skip trace or how to do a skip trace, there's a multitude of agencies that will come up listing what they do and the prices they charge. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Just for instance, have you ever heard of the service called Locate Plus?
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, Mr. Bruce has used Locate Plus in this case. Is that correct?
Do you know?
I don't know that.
Okay.
If I were to show you a document that Mr. Bruce submitted to us, and,
Well, it doesn't matter.
okay, well anyway, are you aware that for 1 month you can get Locate Plus for $59.95?
No, I'm not aware of that, but I'm not sure.
Okay. So, in terms of doing skip traces, y'all getting paid $75 an hour, correct? Correct?
Well, no, he didn't get paid nothing.
Oh, okay. Well, you were supposed to be getting paid $75 an hour, correct?
Yes.
You could have signed up for Locate Plus for $59.95 for a whole month and had money to spare, correct? Or from that $75.
You asked me what I could have done?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, I could have done it.
Because your whole testimony has been about what you could have done, what you wanted to do, right?
I don't know if my whole testimony has
Okay.
been about
Well,
that.
at any rate, as far as the skip traces, you could have for as low as $59.95 a month, or just for 1 month, did as many skip traces as you wanted for $59.95, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's get back to these witnesses and how you were hindered in finding these witnesses, okay? Now, you indicated that because the police or the prosecution did not supply you with the addresses, you were unable to, or it hindered you in finding these people, correct?
I don't know if it's accurate to say that I was hindered.
Okay, well, let's put it this way. You had the witness list, correct, civilians that were going to be called at trial, correct?
That's correct.
Jessica Bashara, the defendant's daughter. You're telling me that you couldn't locate her if you wanted to?
I probably could have,
Okay,
but it
thank
was
you.
my
Thank you.
responsibility.
What about Robert Bashara? That's the defendant's son, Robert Bashara Jr., his son, correct?
That's correct.
Certainly his father had contact information on him, correct?
That's correct.
And you said you met with him a multitude of times, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever say, gee, I'm feeling hindered in finding some of these witnesses. Could you give me the contact information on your son so I can locate him and speak to him?
I wasn't tasked with locating his son or any of his family except his sister.
Okay, and his sister, who is Laura Mara, correct?
That's correct.
And you've made contact with her, or tried to make contact with her several times, correct?
Correct.
And the defendant's own sister would not return your phone call, is that correct?
That's correct.
So, a witness does not have to speak with you, correct?
Correct.
Lois Valente, who was served with the subpoena in this case, correct?
Correct.
You served her with the subpoena, but she was served with the subpoena, but she refused to speak to you, is that correct?
No, ma'am.
Or didn't she indicate that she was going to stand on the statement she gave to the police? Or words to that effect?
Yes, but she spoke to me.
In terms of in terms of engaging in the type of investigative interview that you wanted to do, you did not do that, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that is because many of the witnesses that you tried to interview simply did not want to be interviewed by you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if they didn't want to be interviewed by you, okay, strike that. There are only certain mechanisms under which you can make a person speak. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If we're talking about a grand jury, you can subpoena them to the grand jury. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You can subpoena them to come to trial. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you're the prosecutor, you can do an investigative subpoena for them to testify. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Absent those mechanisms, any citizen has the right to say, I do not want to talk to you. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how do you feel that the prosecution could have made people who didn't want to talk to you talk to you?
In the past,
No,
Well, they can answer.
Okay, I'm specifically.
And may
listen,
I?
Okay,
May
yeah.
I? I'm the judge.
Okay.
Answer. Go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
in the past, the prosecutor's office has made accommodations so that if there was a fear of being interviewed by the defense, these accommodations would offer some assurance that they would not necessarily be in fear if they submitted to an interview.
But that
But
wasn't
doesn't
the
that,
situation.
okay,
Go ahead. I'm
excuse me.
sorry.
But doesn't that presuppose that the person was willing to talk to you, correct?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Okay, so once again, even if we had made accommodations to make the people feel safe, the prosecution, if they don't want to talk to you, we cannot force them, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Now, in terms of these witnesses that you indicated that you were hindered from finding, there were several people who were family members of the defendant, is that correct?
That's correct.
The defendant certainly could have assisted you with getting contact information, is that correct?
No, because, again, there was one family member to which I had a telephone number. She lived out of state. I made several attempts to call.
What does it have to do with her question? She said, couldn't you have gotten the information from Mr. Bashara?
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Yes,
okay.
I could have.
Okay.
So you were not hindered as it relates to the family members because there was an easy way for you to get that information, correct?
That's correct.
The family of Jane, is that correct? You indicated that one of the witnesses you thought you might have had to interview was Lorraine Engelbrecht, is that correct?
No, I didn't say that.
You don't remember when you met with me and Ms.
Counsel, that's inappropriate.
Okay. You don't recall indicating that one of the witnesses that might have been on your list was Lorraine Engelbrecht?
I recall that, but I may have gotten the names confused.
Okay. Well,
There's
there's
another Lorraine.
Okay. Well, there is a class of people who are Jane's relatives. Is that correct?
There's a group, yes.
Okay. And the defendant likewise could have assisted you with giving you contact information or at least where the people lived. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So once again, that's another category of witnesses you were not hindered from finding if you really wanted to. Is that correct?
Yes, but I
Okay.
wasn't assigned it.
Okay, well, I'm just going through. You talked about the people you're being hindered. There were business associates of Mr. Bashara. Is that correct?
Correct.
In terms of finding out their contact information, you could at least find out where their businesses were from Mr. Bashara. Is that correct?
I guess I could have, yes.
Okay. There is a category of people who are real estate people. Is that correct?
Yes,
Very easy to find them. Is that correct?
that's correct.
And not only did you find them, they didn't want to talk to you, correct?
That is correct.
So the people not providing with those addresses didn't hinder you in that regard. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. There were some people on the people's witness list who were city employees, city of Grosse Pointe Park. Is that correct?
That's correct.
there were some city inspectors and things of that nature?
Would you?
City, some type of inspectors and things like that who were employees of Grosse Pointe Park?
Yes, I can recall titles of it.
Okay. It's fairly easy to find city employees in terms of working where they work, correct?
That's correct.
So you not having the addresses from the people didn't hinder you in that regard, correct?
That's correct.
Now, there are people who were tenants of the defendant, is that correct?
That's correct.
Who were on the people's witness list, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It would be very easy. The defendant could tell you where his buildings are, correct?
Correct.
So you were not hindered by not having that information from the people from finding the people who were his tenants. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, there were some people on the people's witness list who were co-workers of Rachel Gillette. Is that correct?
From my recollection, yes.
And you knew from your reading of the discovery that Rachel Gillette worked at Wayne State University. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Not even a 15-minute drive from this building. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Would be the fact that you did not have their addresses did not hinder you from going to Wayne State and trying to seek these people out. Is that correct?
That's correct.
There was a category of people who were associated with Mr. Gens. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And there were specifically some people that he worked for at a restaurant. Is that correct? Ashett's Burgers.
Yes.
That is a known location. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, what's the call?
Ashett's, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's A. Say that out loud. A.
C-H-A-T-Z.
Yes. And that is a business that Mr. Gens worked at. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And there were some witnesses from that business. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's a known location. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The proprietor and his wife were on the people's witness list, correct?
Yes. From my
There were
recollection.
other people who worked at that restaurant on the witness list. Is that correct?
Yes.
The people not giving you people's names and addresses did not hinder you from going to that place of business and trying to interview those witnesses. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, one of the very first things you said is that you wanted to interview the witnesses to know what they were going to say prior to them testifying because you wanted to know what they were going to say under oath. Is that correct?
Yes.
But there was a whole category of witnesses who had previously testified at the preliminary examination. Is that correct?
Yes.
And there was a crossover between the people that you claimed that you were supposed to interview to people who had already testified at the preliminary examination, correct?
A crossover, would you explain that, please?
Okay. There were some people who had testified at the preliminary examination who were also going to be testifying at trial, correct?
Yes.
And they had previously testified under oath. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you had already indicated when you first testified that the reason you wanted to interview them is because you wanted to know what they were going to say under oath. Is that correct?
Yes.
But the attorneys already knew what they were going to say under oath. Is that correct?
What attorneys?
Ms. Diallo and Mr. McCarthy.
Yes, but regardless, I was
Let me-
asked.
Wait, counsel. Go ahead, what you say?
Regardless, a part of my instruction from the Ms. Diallo and Mr. McCarthy was to interview those individuals.
Do you have that in writing?
I don't recall having it right. It might have been during the course of a conference we had.
Okay. But at any rate, there was a crossover between the witnesses who testified at the preliminary examination and the witnesses who were going to be recalled at the trial, correct?
Yes.
And you read the preliminary examination transcript, that correct?
Yes.
In its entirety.
Yes.
Some 29 witnesses, correct? Roughly.
Yes.
24 civilians, correctly?
Correct.
Correct. So the attorneys already knew, at least for 24 civilians, what they were going to say under oath without being interviewed, correct?
That's
Correct.
an assumption, I guess I can. Again, it was based upon the fact that I was instructed to contact.
Okay, I understand that. But the attorneys, you're assuming the attorneys did in fact read the exam transcripts. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, and they are the captains of the ship, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. and they direct what they think is most important in their doing their defense in court. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you must have read the police reports in this case. Is that correct? You read some police reports. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But you've certainly read the investigative summary. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the investigative summary was broken down into 1, 2, and 3 sections. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you looked at all 3 sections. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you indicate, or you seem to believe that the police didn't follow up on tips. Is that correct?
Again, what is the question you're asking?
Okay. Did the police do tip follow-up?
I consider that to be a very general question.
Okay.
It's difficult to
You
answer.
reviewed the investigative summary. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm going to direct you to page 101 of the investigative report under things listed by Officer Narduzzi. Does it list tip follow-up?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm also going to direct you to page 104 of the investigative summary, to the summary of Detective Sergeant Joe White from the Michigan State Police and Detective Sergeant Eric Young from the Michigan State Police, and ask you to look at that.
Yes, ma'am.
And both of them indicate that they did tip follow-up. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If you wanted to, you could have pulled those tips to look at them, correct?
I could have, yes.
But you didn't, correct?
That's correct.
Now, as it relates to some tips, you do know some of the tips that came in as it relates to the case, correct?
Right.
And the tips that came in as it relates to the case dealt with one of Mr. Bashara's former tenants, perhaps doing this killing of Mr. Bashara, correct?
That's correct.
And that tip ultimately led right back to the defendant. Is that correct?
Yes, it did.
So the tips the police followed up where somebody else was named led back to the defendant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Additionally, you talked to a lot of people who did not want to give their names. Is that correct?
I don't know if that's a correct statement.
Well, you talked to some police who corroborated certain aspects of the people's case. Is that correct?
I didn't hear that question.
You talked to some witness in your investigation that corroborated certain aspects of the people's case. Is that correct?
Yes.
You talked to some people. You were aware that there was the allegation from Paul Monroe that the defendant had bought cocaine from. Is that correct?
Yes, I was.
You were aware of the allegation from Daryl Bradford that the defendant bought cocaine from him. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you were aware of the allegation from Jim Wilson, a country club member and friend of the defendant, that the defendant used cocaine with him. Is that correct?
Yes, I was.
During your investigation, did you find witnesses who indeed indicated that the defendant engaged in the use of cocaine?
No, I didn't.
You did not okay. Did you, in fact, have a meeting with me and Krista, who was sitting here, someone from our office?
Yes.
Did you indicate in that meeting that you had found witnesses that said Mr. Bashara did cocaine?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
I
you.
did. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, were you aware from reading the investigator's report and things of that nature that one of the claims that Mr. Gintz made is that he was afraid of the defendant because the defendant said he had mafia ties? Is that correct?
Yes.
And the defendant, Gintz, said that the defendant told him if he did not kill Jane Bashara, that he was going to take out that Bashara was going to take out a mafia hit on Gintz. You're aware of Mr. Gintz saying that?
I'm aware of reading it.
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
Yes.
In your investigation, when you were out talking to people, did people indicate to you that the defendant was constantly bragging about having mafia ties?
Oh, absolutely.
Or being mobbed up?
Yes.
Okay. And he would also talk about all the time about being that Jack Toko was his next door neighbor.
Yes.
And who do you know Jack Toko to be?
Reported mob associate affiliate, mob boss.
And you also are aware that one of the things that Mr. Gentz told the police is that Mr. Bashara told me that the mafia head lives right next door to me. Is that correct?
Would you repeat the question again?
One of the things that Mr. Gentz indicated to the police is that when Bob Bashara was telling him about if he didn't cooperate, that a hit was going to be done on Gentz, did Mr. Gentz indicate that Bob Bashara told him that Mr. Toko was a neighbor of his?
I recall reading that, yes.
Okay. And was in fact Mr. Toko a neighbor of the defendant, Bob Bashara?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, they were neighbors.
Thank you. So, indeed, your investigation ended up having information that would corroborate certain aspects of the people's case. Is that correct?
Yes.
But that information was never turned over to the people as part of any type of reciprocal discovery. Is that correct?
I can't say that with certainty.
Okay. Did you document that in any way, shape, form, or fashion?
No, I did not document.
Now, let's look at, your investigation, some of the things you did in terms of the investigation. You interviewed the defendant, is that correct?
Correct.
And the defendant wanted to assist you in the investigation, is that correct?
That's correct.
And he told you various things to help in the investigation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did he ever tell you anything about his prior private investigator, J.D.?
There may have been some passing comments that he made during the course of our visits.
Did he ever indicate to you that J.D. had found somebody else instead of Gentz who was a suspect in this killing?
I don't recall that.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to review the highlighted portions of both of those articles, and then I'll ask you some additional questions.
Do you have a copy, Mr. Ambrose?
Excuse me?
I can give them.
Give him a copy of what
Yes,
you just
ma'am.
gave him, please. Did you review it?
The highlighted material.
Okay,
Yes,
I'm sorry, let me get to the council so you can look at it. You had a opportunity to look at both of those, these articles, is that correct?
Yes,
Now, they reference the finding of a new suspect that didn't have anything to do with Gintz, is that correct?
yes,
And that was when Mr. Bashara and Mr. Grimm were putting forth somebody else, the tenant who had done the killing, is that correct?
yes, that's
Okay.
what the article states.
And that supposedly it came from Paul Monroe, is that correct?
According to the article.
And the defendant, the tip, okay. So,
Your Honor,
but,
I'm going to object at this point. I don't know why this article is being introduced.
I'm going to give her a little latitude. I think to test the familiarity with what he was indicating the defendant was being denied due process.
and this relates to information that you had got from the defendant in your discussion with him, is that correct?
Were you aware of this article at
No.
the time that you interviewed Mr. Bashara?
No, I was not aware of that from the
Okay.
article.
But you were aware that the defendant was saying things to you that were consistent to what was in that article, is that correct?
I didn't read the article in its entirety. You asked me to read the highlighted sections, so there could have been
Okay, you want to...
portions of that
You wanna go-
article
Let's
that,
move on. He can read over
Okay,
lunch.
okay, thank
Okay,
you.
let's move on to something else.
Okay. Now, in terms of your investigation, did you realize that you didn't have a carte blanche just to bill as many hours as you wanted, is that correct?
yeah, that was never my intention, but no, that
Okay.
was never inferred or
Okay.
anything.
Now, in terms of your investigation, in any task you do, you have to sort of prioritize things and narrow your focus, is that correct?
Correct.
And you met with a friend of the defendant, is that correct, Mr. Falconelli?
Yes,
And you met with him for several hours, is that correct?
that's correct.
What information did he gave you that was critical to the investigation that necessitated you to spend 4 or 5 hours with him at $75 an hour?
There was at least 2 or 3 meetings that we had, and it was based upon the paperwork that he wanted to show and possibly testify to as
That who
to
wanted to show?
Mr. Fassman.
Okay.
That wasn't a question.
Okay. And you're supposed to be helping Miss Diallo and Mike McCarthy, is that correct?
That's correct.
And and as the attorneys, they decide the parameter of what testimony they want to put in and what testimony they don't want to put in, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Based on what you said, you're meeting with Mr. Falconelli and he's talking to you about what he wants to testify to?
He would be willing to testify to.
Okay. Did you ever, before you spent those hours with him, $75 an hour, call up Miss Diallo and call up Mr. McCarthy and say, do you want me to waste this time speaking with him about this when I can be going out doing something else?
I never asked that question or placed it in that context.
Now, but you would agree that the time you spent with him, Your Honor, Mr. Falconelli, you spent more time with a person who was the defendant's friend than any other witness in this case. Is that correct?
Yes, I guess that's
Okay.
correct.
Why?
Based upon the instructions from the attorney to conduct the investigation. And at the time, I think we had come to a conclusion that he may have information that may be of assistance to them.
Mr. Fasanelli?
That, yes. So I contacted and interviewed him based upon their instruction.
So you're saying that Ms. Diallo and Mr. McCarthy said, go spend about 7, 8 hours with Mr. Falconelli. They told you that?
That question is being taken out of context.
No.
Answer the question.
No, ma'am, they didn't ask me the question that way, so.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
And additionally, you indicated that one of the things the attorney you wanted to do was interview witnesses to know what the person was going to say under oath. Is that correct?
Yes,
Mr. Falcinelli had testified at the preliminary examination under oath. Is that correct?
that's correct.
He also testified in an investigative subpoena under oath. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the attorneys at least had 2 occasions where they knew what Mr. Falcinelli had said under oath. Is that correct?
According to, yes, that's, yes, ma'am.
And despite that, you still interviewed him 5 hours on top of him being interviewed under the investigative subpoena?
Yes, it was based upon the instructions and based upon the material that he wanted to share with me.
Who Mr. Fascinelli wanted to share with you,
Yes,
Not what Mr. Giallo and Mr. McCarthy wanted you to get from him.
but what he wanted to tell you.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, now let's, now, you reviewed the investigative subpoenas in this case. Is that
Did
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You reviewed some 40-odd, 50-odd,
Yes.
correct? So, once again, when you reviewed them, you or the attorneys had an idea about what these people had said under oath. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, just limited to what he knows, because
Okay,
that...
okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you, at that point, knew what they had said under oath,
Yes,
They being the witness.
the witnesses that you had reviewed.
yes.
And did you take anything that you learned from the investigative subpoenas to do some further investigation?
As it related to their instructions and following their strategy, yes.
And what specifically was that?
Based upon the individuals they wanted to have contacted, based upon the conferences that Joe and I had that we thought were going to be supportive of their strategy.
Okay. Did you ever ask them directly, is this supportive of your strategy?
No, I don't recall ever asking them that direct question, no.
Now, in terms, Ms. Diallo is a very direct person, is that correct?
Yes,
And she will let you know what she wants, when she wants it, is that correct?
that's correct.
And you received several emails from Ms. Diallo leading up to the trial indicating who she wanted you to focus on.
That's correct.
Okay. Do you recall, in your email, I'm going to, excuse me,
Do you have this counsel?
I do not.
these documents were supplied by Mr. Bruce, his own investigator. You don't have anything?
Is this the email from
Oh,
Mr.
from?
Yes.
to Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
You don't have that?
These are
Have you
things,
seen that before, Mr. Ambrose?
I don't recall seeing that.
Okay, then you don't have it. All right, cool. Okay, you know what?
do you need?
We might as well just go ahead and break for lunch. Just come back at 1:15. All these
Okay.
outstanding documents, the articles, this, we need to get copies.
Well, Judge, I assume since they came from his witness that he would have them.
Don't assume anything.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Very good, thank you. I'll see everybody at 1:15.
Okay.
And leave
Yes, ma'am.
whatever's outstanding. See it here.
Yes, I'm going to give it to him,
The
Judge.
attorney's approach. Mr. Ambrose. Do him like Okay. Who is she? Okay. Okay. You better have her here tomorrow. You hear me? Or she gonna be locked up. So you